Good day, my name is Rosella Espina. I'm from Manila, Philippines, University of Santo Tomas, and I'm going to present my research Underground Black Propaganda Campaigns of Political Trolls to Influence Opinion Online, an exploratory study for the 10th International Conference on Communication and Media Studies. I would like to start my presentation by having a short exercise about can you spot an online political troll account? Here's a sample political content. The image in the left is a screenshot of a Facebook post from Al Jazeera English during the 2022 Philippine elections. The Facebook post reported about the disinformation tactics that favored specific political candidate. It says, fake news on social media has been a major part of the Philippines election campaign. Franco Luna debunks the disinformation that has brought the son of former blank to the brink of power. For the purpose of being objective and reduce the bias, I remove all the names of the political figures. From that post, I gathered two top commenters and their actual comments. From here, can you spot which one is the troll? In the account A, we don't need the most qualified candidate. What we need is a truly qualified candidate with real credentials and proven track record in public service and inclusive servant leadership. On the other hand, we have I'm a Filipino and I know the truth. During the time of blank, the Philippines was in golden years, but in times of blank, it sunk on debt. Blank contributed a lot to our country. He made us famous and created projects which we could benefit from. The blank was jealous, and blank was just a worthless activist. To help you even further analyze which one is a troll, let's look at their actual accounts. Here, you're currently looking at the actual profile views of account A and account B. In this example, the obvious answer is account B because it lacks information, anonymous, hidden, and used the same narrative as other similar accounts such as historical revisionism, an apologist, shifting blame, and more. But in reality, who has the time to analyze all the accounts they encounter online? Let's look at the global political trolling as my first introduction. The truth in the 21st century has been under attack, and a democratic country without truth is flawed. From a political communication standpoint, continuous aggrandizement of misinformation, disinformation, and malformation, or MDM, poses a threat to an individual's democratic power and the formation of public opinion. The nature of new media grants the mass media industry and regular citizens equal access to social platforms. The shift has sparked the interest of Black propagandists to directly influence public opinion without compromising their real-life personas for political, economic, and social gains. The democratized content creation has then invented an underground industry that glamorizes public images, fabricates online content, and provokes citizens within the online political realm. The problem is that 26 fake accounts can actually influence 3 million others.
With the ubiquitous use of the internet, the role of social media in voter selection has progressively increased over the years. In the United States, a research stated that trolls activity influenced the 2016 US presidential election in the direction of Donald Trump. Exploring the influence of algorithms, scholars in Malaysia studied platform enabled political trolls who disrupted Malaysia's online civic space. Internet trolling utilizes the affordances of algorithms to cultivate the practice in which the international ownership of social media apps is a factor at play. In a different approach, Lawton and Frank in Canada focused on the role of fake news content during Canada's 2019 federal election. The use of trigger topics and facts combined with unverifiable false facts were weaponized to manipulate social media users. Also, evidence suggests a suspected foreign interference. Meanwhile, a scholar in Germany stated that echo chambers hijack political discourse and foster polarization, resulting in problematic online behaviors and the spread of fake news, purposely written, well crafted, and sensationalized information that imitates mainstream news. In Thailand, the term patriotic trolling has been discussed in political forums, portraying government critics as traitors, trolling, unlike political trolling where third-party actors intervene. Patriotic trolling is orchestrated by the incumbent junta or the Thai state to monitor the suppressed dissidents online. The second half of my introduction is about political trolling in the Philippines. In the Philippine democratic landscape, truth framing on social media is patronized as a political campaign strategy. The practice, culturally known as political trolling, has evolved from a mere phenomenon into a thriving industry hidden from the mainstream, offering regular employment and sourcing media talents and influencers to shield and boost political patrons, reputations, and election campaigns. With the Philippines being coined as the world's social media capital in 2021 and grappling with the challenge of being the first in terms of digital illiteracy in 2023, trolling has been a political crisis for local communications and media industries. With over 89 million Filipino social media users, 99% of them staying online to check their accounts, the public heavily relies on digital platforms for media consumption, governance, and citizenship. The number of Filipino social media users even surpasses the number of 2022 registered voters. During the 2016 Philippine campaign period, grassroots supporters and keyboard armies exploited the democratized platforms to execute manipulation tactics, mainly mobilized to silence critics and create the illusion of widespread public support. The 2016 presidential candidate, Rodrigo Duterte, publicly acknowledged deploying hundreds of keyboard warriors, which led to him to establish a vast online following and fans who leaped to his defense and debated his critics and sang phrases of his leadership style. An Oxford study cited that Duterte's camp even paid 10 million pesos or $200,000 for an online campaign to promote and defend him against political opponents. Behind the mind conditioning were media, communications, and marketing professionals who accepted million budget projects. Behind the mind conditioning were media, communications, and marketing professionals who accepted million budget projects. Previous researchers described the community as the shadow industry, a covert sector providing tools for digital manipulation and acting as a weapon for the right price by building artificial buzz and reputation protection for political figures. Some scholars further examined the phenomena and found that Duterte's online fans were partly a reflection of offline grassroots political support. However, with political trolling that corrupts a public perceptions to sway votes and supporters, there is a high probability that some grassroots supporters were a ramification of political trolling. Here in this graph, you can see the actual workflow of underground industry of trolling that started with potential clients as politicians, chief architects of network disinformation. These are the communications and marketing professionals that heading the strategies, digital influencers with following on social media, community level fake account operators, these are the fake accounts, and grassroots intermediaries, then the public.
6 years later, the 2022 Philippine general election, the success of Duterte's 2016 trolling campaign set a precedent for subsequent elections. Political candidates and officials have routinely paid vast cyber troll armies with multiple fake accounts to smear opponents, prop themselves up, initiate debates to shake politics, and infiltrate public perceptions. The Philippines has become a point for political trolling practices, including click farms and all sorts of political gaslighting. From then, the Filipino public is left confused and victimized and disempowered. Kinds of political trolls. Currently, only two kinds of trolls are documented in the Philippines based on their objective, as revealed by self-identifying trolls in an investigative report of the Washington Post in 2019. First is white trolls to create an illusion of support for their supported politicians, like praising and giving good comments on social media. Then the black trolls, who execute online harassment and intimidation of the political opponents of their supported political candidates. Moving on to the research problems. This research aims to answer the following: how did political trolls conduct their black propaganda campaigns on social media during the 2022 Philippine elections in terms of creating artificial engagements, smearing political opponents, and starting online propaganda wars? Then, what is the level of awareness of social media users on political trolls and political trolling activities conducted during the 2022 Philippine elections to influence public opinion? The modern-day black propagandist's theoretical framework of the research. Through the lens of Harold Laswell's theory of political propaganda in 1927 from World War I, this research explains the parallel concepts of classic propaganda and political trolling. The political communication theories define propaganda as a strategic manipulation of significant symbols and management of collective attitudes to acquire a desired response. Primarily, the significant symbols and language of stimulus response are the drivers to reaffirm biased attitudes toward others and nullify undesired responses. He further fortified the concept by stating that a propagandist is an individual who intensifies the attitudes that support his bias, attracts the indifferent, and significantly not acquiring attitudes that can cause a hostile bent, and reverses attitudes hostile to his bias. As a two-part research, the first is about the trolling to manipulate significant symbols. In promoting an engineered framing of mind, the black propagandist utilizes structure, myths, techniques, and cultural materials to push and deceive the collective in harmony with his objectives, similar to disinformation and misinformation. The research supplemented the study analysis with Roland Barthes' semiotics theory in 1957 to interpret the semiology meanings of the texts transmitted by the political trolls. Standing in Barthes' semiology perspective in text analysis, Laswell's propagandist definition directly translates to the three concepts of political trolling, where creating artificial engagements intensifies. Smearing political opponents attracts the indifferent by positioning their rivals as a bad choice, and starting online propaganda wars reverses attitudes by emitting provoking arguments while all are unveiling underground. The second part of the study is about the trolled to manage collective attitudes. Laswell added that the collective attitudes are not permanent and can be altered under the impetus of significant symbols and different modes, including violent intimidation, which mirrors the existence of political trolling. The trolling practice stems from influencing the collective bias to eventually end up with the desired response suitable to propaganda-driven motives. The weak spot that is subjected to influencing is the flawed tendencies of the public in creating their own personal social and political perception, as explained by Amos Stravinsky and Daniel Kahneman's cognitive bias theory, Peter Weisson's confirmation bias, and Robert Sajong's mere exposure effects theory. Due to the limited capacity of the brain to process a huge pool of information online, a person may use his cognitive bias for selection and confirmation bias for continuous consumption, while the frequency of information exposure leading to familiarity is cultivated by the user's behavior and social media algorithms. Using subjective reality, nitpicking information, and boosting the exposure of black propaganda-driven political content on social media can ultimately affect an individual's political views and perspectives. Moving on to the methodology. This research follows exploratory sequential research started with a qualitative method through content analysis, followed by a quantitative method using survey questionnaires. The content analysis was focused on political comments from identified political troll accounts, whose findings contributed to developing the survey questionnaires. Before deriving a combined conclusion, each research stage was analyzed and interpreted separately. For the stage one, qualitative study, data collection, and content analysis. With the nature of political trolls being over-engaged in political content, the research detected troll accounts through their online engagement. The research established three data pool variations after constructing and deploying the three-step data extraction to locate political troll accounts. The first database was formed with the implicit data collected from publicly available data streams. The research compiled 1,000 highly relevant 2022 Philippine election-related posts, about 76% videos, 22% images, and 2% text, published prior to the voting day, which was May 9, 2022 on Facebook, 500 posts, and TikTok, 500 posts as well. Political posts were selected based on virality factors including metrics of views, engagements, and number of commenters. Exactly 1,713 top commenter accounts were extracted from the first data pool, 71% from Facebook and 29% from TikTok, to create the second base. The selection of these top commenters was based on the richness of their contributions to the political discourse online. Publicly accessible information about the commenters was acquired as well, including the account name, account link, and comment. It is crucial to base selection on numerical metrics as high engagements can translate to wider exposure and influence. Hence, the second data pool circumscribed filtering to highly engaged commenter accounts. The research then initiated a troll analysis for a judgment sampling with the 9-item criteria checklist, a simplified constructed list from the combined results of previous troll studies and investigative news articles reporting the nature of Philippine political trolls.
This is the 9-item criteria checklist to identify a political troll account that was used in the research. First, if the account is solely for politics, anonymous, biased political stance, inauthentic followers, low quality images and videos, sock puppeting, unusual online behavior, using deceptive, evasive, and provoking language, and sudden inactivity or less after the 2022 election. In objectively interpreting the results, the number of checks determined the troll tagging. The research found that 15% or 264 of the gathered top commenters from Facebook and TikTok are all political troll accounts. The sampling plan is directly marked by the identified political troll accounts, comments, and public information stored in the third database. Moving on to the Stage 2 quantitative study data collection. Renzi's Likert scales in 1932 were primarily used in collecting explicit data from 100 Filipino social media users of legal age gathered through a simple random sampling. The survey questionnaires were constructed using the Filipino language and conducted through a Microsoft survey tool with 4 sections, such as demographics, social media use, and awareness level on political troll and political trolling. Demographic questions include age, sex, location of residence, educational level, employment status, and monthly household income were included in the first section. The respondents then measured their social media users during the 2022 Philippine campaign elections through a frequency-based Likert scale, such as always, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. 5 statements were rated to identify the degree of browsing, reading the comment section, liking and sharing election related posts, commenting on election related posts, and posting election related photos and videos. An 11-point Likert scale to quantify the level of awareness was integrated into the third and fourth survey questions to acquire interval data. With 20 statements describing political trolls and political trolling, the respondents rated their awareness from 0 being the lowest and 5 as the midpoint and 10 being the highest. The formulated statements were derived from the results of the content analysis and the review of related literature. Moving on to the research results, first in the qualitative study, the trolling or the political trolls in their black propaganda campaigns in the 2022 Philippine elections. In the first category, we have creating artificial engagements or white trolling using tactics to express fake and non-organic support for a political candidate. These are the narratives and strategies found. First is political loyalty, shows loyalty to a political candidate that started way before the 2022 Philippine elections and is fortified by his family lineage. Second, voters' gratification, gains satisfaction or pleasure from supporting and voting for a political candidate. Third, the perfect tandem, phrases and campaigns two political candidates in one context who who run for two different government positions. Fourth, association of patriotism with a political candidate uses narratives associating love for one's country with voting for supporting a political candidate. Fifth is the political hero that positions a political candidate as a hero who can save the nation. Sixth, the virtuous leader is characterized by narratives that a political figure has high moral standards, deserves praise, and is respectable. Seventh, association of God with a political candidate as a religious country. This tactic relates God with a political candidate. Eighth, the fake vox populi strategy uses collective pronouns or statements to misrepresent public opinion, then other troll accounts engage to create the illusion of the majority. Ninth, the most qualified leader that uses superlative adjectives to position the supported political candidate as the top choice. 10th, the winning certainty refers to direct statements of claiming victory. 11th, parasocial relationship with a politician that expresses intimate statements and one-sided emotional bonds where an individual feels a connection or attachment to a politician despite no direct and two-way interaction. 12th, copy-pasting strategy is characterized by duplicate narratives in different content themes or contexts. 13th, historical revisionism intends to revise or reinterpret the history favorable to the supported political candidate. 14, other disinformation narratives that intend to spread deceptive information to make the political candidate more favorable. Lastly, we have association of famous personalities with the political candidate relates celebrities to a political candidate. For the second category, which is smear political opponents or black trolling that uses tactics that target certain political candidates to spread fake stories, rumors, and baseless accusation. First is these are the narratives and strategies. Political disapproval expresses strong disfavor over a political candidate. Public mockery online, defined by narratives that intend to use humor in ridiculing a political candidate. Dismission and devaluation of qualifications, undermining or devaluing one's skills and qualifications. The unvirtuous politician positions a political candidate as someone who does not show high moral standards. Fifth is negative campaigning, highlighting negative issues of a political candidate despite not being related to the context. The political puppet narrative labels a political candidate as a puppet of a political party. The fake news spreader accuses a political candidate of spreading disinformation. 8. Historical revisionism that intends to revise or reinterpret the history unfavorable to the political opponents. 9th, the red tagging, labeling individuals as communist or terrorist. 10th, media bias tags news media networks as biased to reduce credibility. 11th, shifting strategy, shifting the blame, credit, or votes to another political candidate. Lastly, we have repost strategy, characterized by narratives that intend to be reposted or reused while the original source is unknown. Local self-identifying political trolls classified only white and black troll farms. However, upon further textual analysis of this research to identify items that intend to start online propaganda wars, the research identified a separate textual pattern, subsequently termed gray trolling, a hybrid of white and black trolling practices. In initiating online debates, political trolls combine both attacking and defensive statements within a single context, simultaneously glorifying one subject while condemning another to reinforce an us versus them strategy. The opposing side, or them, encompass not only political rivals but also any entities that did not share the same political ideologies or align with the political trolls' motives. These entities included media networks, opposition supporters, other political parties, historical narratives, and even the objective truth. In the second part, research results about the quantitative study that showed level of awareness of the Filipino social media users. It reveals that most of the survey respondents were females who belong to the Gen Z generation born between 1997 and 2012, followed by the millennial generation born from 1981 to 1996. The respondents were mainly undergraduate and bachelor's degree holders, and at the time of the survey rollout. Following the monthly household income groups provided by the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, the respondents were mainly classified under the poor income group, earning less than 12,030 pesos monthly. The respondents were primarily always browsing, sometimes reading the comments section, and liking and sharing political posts, and rarely posting political comments and never posting political posts. On the level of awareness of respondents on political trolls, 4 out of 10 were found to be slightly aware, which are political trolls use fake social media accounts or fake online personas. Political trolls exist in other countries as well. White trolls are a type of troll that create an illusion of support for their supported politicians, like phrasing and giving good comments on social media. Lastly, black trolls are a type of troll that execute online harassment and intimidation to the political opponents of their supported politicians, and then the rest of the statements are revealed to be much aware. For the level of awareness on political trolling activities of the respondents, 3 out of 10 statements were found to be less aware. These are sock puppet strategy in hundreds of fake social media accounts, using astroturfing, fake box populi strategy and glorification statements, and sea lining and us versus them narratives. Then one statement is found to be slightly aware, which is trolling being underground. Then the rest of the statements were found to be much aware. Moving on to the research conclusion. For the conclusion of the qualitative study, the study concludes that political trolls strategically implemented a set of organized emotions, signs, symbols, narratives, and strategies tailored to each communication objective within the black propaganda campaigns. Political trolls first define the communication objective, which is determined by the type of political trolling, and then establish the elements of black propaganda. With the campaign distinctions of white, black, and gray trolling, the identified political trolls function accordingly and organized based on their role and purpose during the 2022 Philippine elections. Furthermore, in intensifying fake support, glorification narratives with positive emotions are the weapons of white trolls, whereas in smearing political opponents, black trolls operate to disseminate condemnation narratives with negative emotions, often accompanied by humor. Symbolizations, hashtags, exclamation points, and uppercase text are predominantly used to amplify engagement and visibility. Negative referencing and sarcasm are relevant aspects to vilify rivals and character assassinate. Political trolls, white trolls 45%, black trolls 61%, and gray trolls 71% aim to disrupt the political discourse exchange in the social media posts of official news networks. Notably, the role of most white trolls, 26% of them, dissipates after elections. In comparison, black trolls, majority of them remain active even after the elections, and gray trolls have higher account privacy. Moreover, attacking statements, one being condemned as the objection, and defensive statements, one being glorified as the opposition, paired in one context, are evident in starting online propaganda wars. The strategic narrative is summarized into us versus them, where the majority, 70% of them, use attack sentences first, followed by defensive sentences. Therefore, the communication objective for this campaign is to provoke the receiver first, then positively prompt the supported political candidate. Although the emergence of gray trolling can be intentional or unintentional result, while conducting the white and black trolling practices, the research can only prove its existence through the patterns found after dissecting the text. For the conclusion of the quantitative study, the research concludes that the respondents, mainly Gen Z, are much aware of political trolls. They are familiar with the topic and can explain key details and aspects but are only slightly aware about the actual activities of political trolling. Having basic understanding, it can provide surface level descriptions. Among other age groups, Gen Z is coined as the woke generation, an informal word rooted in the word awake, meaning having high social awareness about societal issues and using social media for expression. Hence, this research urges continuous exploration of the trolling concepts, especially in older age groups. That's all for my presentation. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or if you have any inquiries, feel free to contact me at my LinkedIn Rosella Espina or at my email message.rosellespina@gmail.com. Thank you.